Hey, it's Sam, and I'm talking today about the lunar eclipse in Libra that's happening on May 5th. The sort of overall theme for this eclipse is connecting your passions to others through strong agreements. Your passions and your vision is the sun in Aries with Rahu and also Jupiter. And then the strong agreements are Libra, which is where the moon will be. And again, we want to connect our passion to others through strong agreements. That's what allows us to extend our influence and not just be an island unto ourselves. And so what happens during eclipses, though, is this energy gets very polarized. And it's like, no, I'm the one who is strong and it's my passions and I want what I want in this thing. And we can lose that equilibrium, that, here it comes, folks, balance, big Libra keyword, balance. It's about balance, balance, balance. Balance, I bet you've heard balance quite a bit, haven't you? I know you have. It's about balance. Okay, yeah, it is. All right. But it's a very overused word because many times you would think, oh, it's Libra. Now's a great time for balance. There's going to be so much balance and blah, blah. And it's actually often unbalanced. Libra can be one of the most unbalanced energies because of this idea, which means that the shadow side of the Libra energy is the Aries willfulness and individuality. And so what can happen if people have important planets or energies in Libra already, that solar eclipse was in their seventh house, right, where other people's energy is maybe more prominent and more important to them, and they feel the frustration, right? They feel that, oh, I'm compromising too much, right? And so they can get worked up and fired up at other people because in their mind, again, many times Libra, the kind of shadow side of Libra is I'm always compromising. I'm always the one giving. I'm always so fair. And I'm just so fair. I'm so fair all the time. This is the Libra kind of thing where many times, again, they're really not. They're just like everybody else. But when it gets to moments like this, the Libra principle, again, I'm not just talking about Libra people, but this unbalanced Libra, Aries, polarized axis is where they'll come out in some very, I'm being fair, fair-minded sort of like attack at those who were not being fair to them, right? And so, again, I'm using Libra as a general term, right? As a general type of action. But people who maybe have a lot of planets in Libra or whatever are feeling this dynamic quite a lot because it's in their first house or it's over certain planets. And that trigger is going to be very strong. And it's this trigger that always feels like I'm always the one compromising. I'm always the one doing this. And everybody's taking advantage of me, which is that Aries sort of shadow willfulness. And as you can see in the eclipse chart, there's all those planets in Aries. And then the moon is being eclipsed in Libra. So again, we're in this cycle right now. So that Libra part of ourself, again, whether people have a lot of planets in Libra or not, that Libra part of ourself that is always trying to accommodate and needs to get that balance right, can very well be feeling kind of out of sorts a little bit because of all that energy in Aries. And we're kind of fired up about the agreements that we've made and how we're feeling unappreciated, disrespected. These are all Venus and Libra themes. So again, the reaction is to overdo it at this point, and we actually be the one who is disrespectful because I've tolerated it enough, and now I'm speaking out. This is the Aries thing. So if we've had a hard time balancing these two things, our desires and our needs with others, then this could be a very triggering time in that context. But we also have to remember something all the time. Everything we do for ourselves. Even this idea, like I said, this feeling or this idea that Libra can have that all I do for you, all these agreements I make, I'm so cooperative, I'm so nice, I'm so willing to make an agreement. It can be true, but they forget that they're doing it for their purposes. Nobody does anything really for you. They do it for themselves, even if just doing it for themselves means they get to have the connection. They get to have the connection with the other person. So they compromise too much and then feel like they've been cheated or that the other person has somehow victimized them because of the connection they wanted. And this shows up in a lot of ways. It's like, in certainly the biggest ones is in a relationship, any type of relationship, where all I've done for you, I'm so loyal, I'm so loving, I'm so sweet, I'm so this and that. Yeah, and you did it for you. You did it because you wanted the connection. Fundamentally, that's what it was. And you didn't do it because you're a martyr, because you're this selfless individual. You did it because of the connection you got and what you wanted. And then after a while, that stops feeling good. And moments like this, when we get eclipses, particularly with the sun in Aries, where we're saying, I want what I want, and how am I being treated? That imbalance in a person's strong agreement gets tested. Like I said, it's the strong agreement. And sometimes if we're on the other end of the agreement, or we're the one agreeing, and we feel like we're compromising too much, or we're unconscious about that, and we're not willing to walk away from a connection, so we'll make an agreement that we're not happy with, then times like this can show that thing erupt. And so this is the Libra part of it. The Libra part of it is being able to make an agreement that you feel good about and not compromise too much in order to get what you want. Because the easiest way to get what we want is just do what everybody says. It's easy. We all know how to get what we want. Just say yes. Or I'm sorry, we all know how to have a connection. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. We all know how to have a connection. If you want a connection with someone, just agree to everything they say. But that's going to start to violate your boundaries, your principles. You're going to be, feeling not as empowered in that. But if you want the connection more than you want the empowerment, and you don't calibrate that very well, then it leads to this kind of Libra unconscious, all I've done for you drama. And this is a big part of the eclipse. Whether you're doing it or you're seeing others do it, it could definitely be a big part of the energy that's happening now. So as it says, Libra full moon to harmonize the willful energy of Aries with more cooperation, diplomacy, with better management of our desires, frustrations, and disappointments. Key, carefully consider what is frustrating you before lashing out. So before lashing out at the perpetrators who have treated you so unfairly, carefully consider, is that really what's going on? And are these people really being unfair to me? Or what am I expecting here? And what's my part in that compromise and in that agreement? Because remember, every time you make an agreement, you're training the other person to think you're okay with something. If you're having an agreement and you're like, okay, the other person's like, okay, I guess you're okay. I'm not thinking anything, particularly if it's something very benign, which often these things are. People let resentments build up over stuff that is just utterly trivial, that no other person could have possibly known it was bothering the other one. And then all of a sudden, well, I've always been blah, blah, I've never liked that. And you're like, wow, okay. So again, carefully consider, are you really being mistreated? Are you really being disrespected before lashing out? And if you do process something like this, don't be belligerent, don't be accusatory, don't blame the other person first. Speak carefully. Again, as I put down here, other factors, one of the other factors is the Mercury retrograde right now is also happening, shows confusion and imprecision with communication and frustration as well because it's in Aries. So, but the other factor is key to in Libra, shows a sharp, critical, and potentially abusive nature towards others. This is real stuff. Abusive, I use the word. And again, we can be very abusive and expect people to just tolerate it. Abusive like name calling, hassling them, harassing them over these perceived insults. And I say perceived, maybe they're real, but there's no reason to be aggressive, accusatory, call the other person names, assume that you're right, and back them into a corner before you've ever even had a conversation. That's not a conversation, that's a confrontation. And particularly if this is a pattern with you, or if you see others in your life where it's a pattern, these are the kinds of moments when we get sick and tired of those patterns, and we might break it off with the person and go, you know what, this is the last time. You're too comfortable with this kind of confrontational, accusatory stance. I deserve good communication as well. I deserve to be asked about whether I intended to do this thing to you or not. And I'm not sitting here, like this might be in your mind, I'm not sitting here thinking of ways to mistreat you and disrespect you. But I'm feeling disrespected every time you need to talk about it. It's just some accusation that I'm expected to defend myself against. Well, I'm tired of doing that too. So it works both ways. We're not the only one that gets to decide what's respectful or disrespectful. Many times the way we present feeling disrespected is in itself more disrespectful than whatever it is we think the other person did. Flip this around and see it from the other end as well. But the other part of this lunar eclipse is its vishaka nakshatra, which shows the potential to elevate your relationships beyond personal desires into the collective. So vishaka is where Libra becomes Scorpio, where we're taking our personal relationships, which is Libra, our personal agreements, and really trying to take them into something higher and more intense and more deep. Because that's the nature of Scorpio, is to now really sort of analyze all of our vulnerabilities and insecurities and face those things. It's a difficult place for the moon. The moon is close to its debilitation point here. But this nakshatra of Scorpio is where we're also trying to elevate beyond just the personal transaction. The gods Indra and Agni are the big alchemical gods in the Rig Veda. So it's a very transitional and pivotal nakshatra here from the Libra, energy of compromise and agreements and desires to a more transcendent Scorpio, more facing our vulnerabilities and transforming our relationships just out of the desire realm into the transformational realm, and the realm of where we take that principle into something deeper, and we start to establish a deeper relationship with the cosmos and whatnot. So it's a very vulnerable point anyway, even with this Vishaka Nakshatra at the end of Libra. That's where it's happening. So hear these things. Notice other people will also be triggered. Have some patience for that, but also realize it could be a time where you might be hitting a wall with some of the relationships in your life. Again, it could be many. It could be romantic partners, friends, whatever it might be, where you're seeing the pattern as well. And you're just way too comfortable, attacking me, or I don't like being in this position either. As much as you feel disrespected, you know what? So do I. And maybe we do need a break. Again, nothing has to ever break permanently, but it can really show where there were breaks when we get this Libra Aries axis. So I hope this was helpful for you. Share this with others, and stay cool and calm with this Libra and Aries eclipse energy. For a limited time, I'm offering 10 hours of masterclasses, Yoga and Vedic Astrology, Quantum Vedic Astrology, and Spiritual Astrology Masterclass. These are 3 great courses that will really help you a lot. Now, in case you don't know who I am, I taught the Astroved certification course, Dattatreya Shiva Baba, in 2010. Ravi Shankar published my book in 2018. I've been around for decades. I've been teaching these great classes, and if you go to VedicAstrologyEssentials.com, you can get this 90% off discount of these 3 great classes, more than 10 hours, guaranteed value. You can check this out. These 3 classes will give you all the necessary tools to begin to learn Vedic astrology. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppy, Vedic Astrology Teacher. On there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly, and I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction.